They forced a human to marry the hideous, alien girl, but he recognized the heart behind her face. The war ended without ceremony. There was no final speech, no heroic last stand. It ended with silence, broken ships, and human soldiers kneeling on cold metal floors under alien guards. Humanity had lost. The alien alliance that ruled this part of the galaxy was vast and old. Their ships were larger, their weapons were stronger, their patience was thin. When Earth surrendered, the Council of Alien Rulers gathered to decide what would be done with the defeated species. Some wanted extinction, some wanted slavery, others wanted something worse. In the end, they chose an example. The Council demanded a bond, not a treaty, not a trade deal, a marriage. A human would be forced to marry one of their own. Not a princess, not a leader, but the one no one wanted. The reason was simple. Fear works best when it is personal. The human chosen was named Evan. Evan was not famous. He was not rich. He was not important in politics. He was a former soldier captured during the last battle near a dying star. He survived when others did not. He followed orders. He did not break under pain. That made him useful. He was brought before the council in chains. The chamber was wide and tall, filled with shadows and strange lights. Alien figures sat high above him, their shapes different from each other. Some had too many eyes, some had none. Their voices echoed together, cold and distant. Evan stood still. His hands were bound, his face was bruised. He did not look up. "You will serve a purpose," one of the council said. Evan lifted his head slowly. "If you plan to kill me," he said, "do it fast." A low sound moved through the chamber. It might have been laughter. "You will not die," another voice said. "You will live." That was when Evan felt fear. They explained the punishment in simple terms. A forced union, a bond meant to shame humans and remind the galaxy of their defeat. If Evan refused, the human prisoners would be sent to labor worlds where few survived. If he accepted, those prisoners would be released. Evan did not ask for time. "I accept," he said. The council seemed pleased. Too pleased. Only after his answer did they show him who he would marry. The doors behind the council opened. Heavy steps echoed across the chamber floor. Evan turned. At first his mind refused to understand what he was seeing. The alien female was tall, taller than most humans. Her body was covered in thick, uneven plates that looked like cracked stone. Her face was wide and asymmetrical. One eye sat lower than the other. Her mouth was too large, filled with blunt teeth. Deep scars crossed her skin, old and poorly healed. Several council members leaned back as she approached, as if even they did not want to be close. Evan felt his stomach tighten. He had seen battle wounds. He had seen death. But this was different. This was not injury alone. This was a lifetime of being shaped wrong in a world that punished weakness. "This is Lura," the council announced. The name echoed, heavy with meaning. Evan noticed something else. She did not look angry. She did not look proud. She looked afraid. Her hands were folded tight in front of her. Her shoulders were tense. Her eyes never lifted higher than Evan's chest. When the council spoke of her, she flinched. "She belongs to a powerful species," one voice said. "But she is a failure among them," another added. "No male of her kind would take her. She brings bad fortune." Evan clenched his jaw. He understood then. This was not just punishment for humanity. It was punishment for her, too. The council ordered the bond to be sealed within one cycle. Evan was led away. Laura was taken through another door. As Evan walked down a long corridor between guards, one thought stayed with him. She did not look like a monster. She looked like someone who had been told she was one her whole life. The transport ship carrying them away from the council world was silent. Evan was given a small room. The door locked behind him with a heavy sound. Hours passed. Maybe more. Time felt strange, so far from Earth. The door opened. Laura stood there alone. No guards, no chains. She hesitated before stepping inside. Her movements were careful, like she expected pain if she moved the wrong way. Evan stood up slowly. He kept his hands visible. "You do not have to come closer," he said. She froze. His translator caught her low voice. "You are not afraid." "I am," Evan answered honestly. "Just not in the way you think." She studied him. Her uneven eyes searched his face, waiting for disgust. When she did not find it, confusion replaced fear. "They told me," she said, "that you would hate me. They told me many things." Silence stretched between them. "I will not harm you," Laura said at last. "I never wished for this bond." "Neither did I," Evan replied. "But here we are." She looked down, ashamed. "Others who were sent to me, they did not stay long." Evan did not ask what happened to them. He could guess. The ship moved into faster travel. The floor hummed beneath their feet. Laura turned toward the door. "We will arrive at my world soon. You may still refuse me there." Evan stepped closer, careful not to crowd her. "If I refuse," he said, "my people suffer." Her shoulders shook. "Then I am your cage." "No," Evan said firmly. "You are not the one holding the key." She looked at him then, really looked. For the first time, Evan saw something behind her broken face. Not cruelty, not madness, loneliness. The ship continued its journey through dark space, carrying two prisoners bound by a choice neither wanted, toward a future the galaxy expected to end in tragedy. Evan watched the stars pass and made a quiet decision. Whatever this was meant to be, he would not let it be cruel. And far away, unseen by both of them, forces were already moving, pleased that the trap had been set exactly as planned. The ship's engines hummed, a steady vibration that seemed to echo through the quiet chamber. Evan sat on the edge of a metal bench, watching Laura. She moved like a shadow, careful and small, though her size alone made her presence overwhelming. She had found a corner and pressed herself against it, her eyes never leaving the floor. "Why do they treat you like this?" Evan asked quietly. His voice sounded strange in the room, too loud, too human. Laura did not answer at first. She picked at a loose thread on the floor mat, her claws scraping metal faintly. "Because I am a mistake," she said finally. Her voice was low, almost like she was speaking to herself. "They say I bring misfortune. I was born ugly. I was born wrong." Evan leaned forward. "Wrong?" She raised her head just enough for one uneven eye to meet his. That single gaze carried years of fear, loneliness, and quiet suffering. "I was supposed to be strong, perfect, like the others, but I am not. I never will be. That is why no one will touch me." That is why no one loves me. Evan did not respond immediately. He had faced death, destruction, and betrayal. He had survived wars, but he had never met someone who carried the weight of their own shame like this. It made him ache in a way that no physical pain ever could. "You are not wrong," he said at last. "They are the ones who have it all backward." Her gaze faltered. "Words are easy," she whispered. "Actions are harder," he said, "and I plan to act." Laura looked at him with suspicion. You speak like you will protect me, she said. Why? Evan shrugged. Because you deserve it, and because I will not let anyone, human or alien, decide what your life should be. She shook her head slowly, her hair falling over one side of her face. You are a human, she said. Your people have failed me before this. You should hate me. I do not hate you, Evan said. Not now, not ever. For a moment the silence was thick. The only sound was the vibration of the ship. Laura looked at him, really looked at him, and for a brief moment her expression softened. It was the first time she allowed herself to believe that someone might see her differently. When the ship finally landed on her homeworld, Evan felt a chill. The planet was cold, dark, and metallic. It was not a city built for comfort. It was built for control. Towers stretched high, sharp, and empty, casting long shadows over the streets below. Guards patrolled every corner, their weapons ready. Laura led him through a series of corridors to her home. The palace was massive, silent, and cold. The walls were made of dark metal, and strange symbols glowed faintly along them. Every room felt empty, as if it had been abandoned long ago. This is my home, Laura said, her voice flat. But it is not really mine. I live here because no one else will accept me. Evan looked around. The palace had no warmth, no laughter, no life. Even the servants were few and distant, avoiding her, whispering as they passed. It was clear that Laura had lived a lonely life. I do not want to be here either, Evan said. But we are here together now. That is something. She gave a faint shrug, but there was no real hope in it. Days passed. Evan tried to learn about her life, her world, and her people. Laura spoke little. When she did, it was in short bursts, careful words chosen to say the least and reveal nothing. But small gestures gave her away. She cleaned the rooms meticulously, though she never ate in front of others. She tended to small creatures that wandered near the palace, feeding them and caring for them when no one was watching. Evan noticed it all. Every gentle touch, every small act of kindness, it contradicted everything the council had told him about her. She was not cruel. She was not dangerous. She was simply alone. One evening, as the two of them stood on a balcony overlooking the dark city, Laura spoke quietly. Do you think they will ever accept me? Evan shook his head. Not as you are. But that does not matter. What matters is that you accept yourself. She looked at him, eyes wide, as if she had never heard such words before. I do not know how, she whispered. You will learn, he said. And I will help you. The next day, Evan explored the palace further, searching for anything that might help him understand Laura's life. In a hidden chamber, he found records, old and dusty. He began to read. The more he read, the more he realized how unfair her life had been. She had once saved a colony from destruction, but the leaders had blamed her for the disaster to cover their own mistakes. She had been left alone, hated, and shunned ever since. When he showed the records to Laura, she looked shocked. You read it? She asked. Why? It will only make you hate me. I do not hate you, Evan said firmly. I see what they did to you, and I will not let them continue. For the first time, Laura allowed herself to smile, faintly, but it was real. No one has ever done that, she said. Evan nodded. Then let me be the first. As the days turned into weeks, a fragile bond began to form. Laura still flinched at sudden movements, still feared the whispers of servants, but she began to speak more, to ask questions, and even to trust Evan with small secrets. One evening, a servant whispered to Evan that the council had sent observers to the palace. They were watching Laura, waiting for her to fail, to punish her again, to prove the story true. Evan's jaw tightened. "Then we will make sure she does not fail," he said. Laura looked at him, confused. "I am not strong," she said. "I cannot fight them." "You are stronger than you know," Evan replied. "And sometimes strength is not about fighting. It is about standing up, even when everyone expects you to fall." She studied him, her uneven eyes searching for hidden meaning. "Do you believe that?" "I do," he said, "and I will show you." Every day. The days that followed were tense. Every shadow, every whisper, every passing guard could carry danger. Laura's fear was constant, yet she began to rely on Evan's calm presence. He spoke gently, never forcing, never judging. Slowly, her walls began to crumble. One night, Evan awoke to find Laura sitting alone near a small window, staring at the city below. "You cannot keep hiding," he said softly. "You are part of this world, whether they like it or not." She shook her head. "I only hide because it is safer." "Safer?" he asked. "Or lonelier?" Her eyes filled with something she could not hide. Pain, sadness, and longing. "Both," she admitted. Evan stepped closer. "Then you must choose which is worse." The silence stretched between them. The city below remained dark and cold, but inside that palace room a small light began to glow, not from lamps or stars, but from a human and an alien learning to understand each other, learning to trust and learning to hope. As they both stared into the night, a thought lingered in Evan's mind. He had been told she was a monster. He had been told she was cursed. But now, standing beside her, he knew the truth. She was not a monster. She was a heart trapped in a world that refused to see it. And Evan silently promised himself that he would uncover that truth to everyone, no matter the cost, even if it meant defying the entire council. Evan spent the morning walking through the palace corridors, searching for answers. Every corner, every hallway seemed empty and cold, yet the walls whispered stories if one listened closely. Servants moved silently, avoiding Laura as always, their eyes flicking nervously toward her whenever she passed. Evan knew the rumors about her had spread far and wide. Some said she was dangerous. Others said she brought disaster. But Evan had seen only loneliness, not menace. He reached a heavy metal door, partly hidden behind a pile of crates. It was old, scratched, and unlike the others in the palace. Curiosity pushed him forward. He opened it carefully, and a small chamber appeared, stacked with dusty records and strange devices. Evan had learned to read alien languages, enough to understand official documents and notes. He began flipping through the records, hoping for insight into Laura's life. What he found shocked him. Records detailed a disaster years ago, one that the council had blamed on Laura. The files described an explosion in a colony, the death of dozens of workers, and a political collapse. Every report twisted facts to show her as reckless and dangerous. But Evan read between the lines. The disaster had been caused by the leader's negligence, poor planning, and hidden sabotage. Laura had tried to prevent it. She had saved hundreds who would have otherwise died. The council, however, had made her a scapegoat. Evan felt anger rise in his chest. Not just for her, but for the cruelty of a system that could punish the innocent so mercilessly. He found her later near the small garden that grew under artificial lights, a rare touch of green in the cold metal palace. Laura was kneeling, tending to delicate plants. Her hands moved gently, almost reverently, touching the leaves and flowers as if they were fragile beings. "You read the records?" she said quietly, without looking up. Evan nodded. I wanted to know the truth. Laura's uneven eyes finally met his. For the first time there was fear, yes, but also surprise. "You do not hate me?" she whispered. "I do not hate you," Evan said firmly. "I see what they did to you, and I will not let it continue." Tears formed in her eyes. "No one has ever said that. No one has ever tried to help me." "You are not alone," he said. "Not anymore." Laura's hands trembled as she touched a plant. "I never asked for this bond. I never wanted a human, or anyone, to be forced to stay with me. I expected only hate, rejection, or fear. And yet, here I am," Evan said softly. "I see you for who you really are. Not the stories they told, not the lies they spread. Just you." She shook her head slowly. "It is not enough," she whispered. "Even if you believe it, others will not. The council will never accept me. They want me to fail, to prove the story true. They want to punish me again." Evan stepped closer. "Then we will show them the truth, together." Her lips parted, but she said nothing. The words were so foreign, so impossible, that she did not know how to respond. Days passed, and Evan continued his quiet investigations. With the help of a few discreet servants and hidden data channels, he discovered more of Laura's story. She had been trained to lead, to protect her colony, to make hard decisions. But every mistake of the council had been laid on her shoulders. Every failure, real or imagined, became her burden. Yet, in the records, Evan saw her courage. She had stayed, she had protected, and she had endured. One evening, he spoke to her in the small chamber where they often met. "You were brave," he said. "You saved lives when others failed. They wanted to make you a monster, but you are not." She looked at him, tears running down the ridges of her face. "You lie to make me feel better," she whispered. "No," Evan said firmly. "I tell the truth. I have seen your heart, Laura. That is what matters, not their lies." A silence fell between them, deep and heavy. But this time it was different. It was not fear, not suspicion. It was understanding. The next morning, the council sent a message. Laura was to appear in the central chamber. They would conduct a public trial. Their goal was clear: humiliate her, blame her, and remind all who watched that she was a mistake, and humans were weak. Evan's chest tightened. He wanted to refuse. He wanted to run. But he knew that would only make her suffering worse. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. "We will face it together," he said. Laura's uneven eyes studied him. "I cannot do this," she said. "You can," Evan said. "I will be with you. They will not break you while I am here." The day of the trial arrived. The chamber was vast, filled with alien observers from many worlds. Their eyes were sharp, curious, cruel. The council watched from their high seats, their faces cold and unreadable. Laura stood beside Evan, tense but steady. He could feel her fear, but he could also feel her resolve beginning to bloom. The trial began with accusations. The council spoke of disasters, failure, and betrayal. Every word was meant to crush her spirit. Some of the witnesses were humans, coerced to speak lies. Some were aliens, trained to exaggerate her faults. Evan stood silently, holding her gaze. Each accusation, each cruel statement, he watched for the signs of breaking. Laura wavered for a moment, but she did not fall. Finally, Evan stepped forward. The translator on his chest projected his voice clearly to the entire chamber. This woman did not fail. She saved lives when others would have done nothing. She acted with courage, with wisdom, and with heart. The council seeks to hide its own failures by blaming her. Do not believe them. A murmur ran through the chamber. Some observers gasped. Some leaned forward, curious. Laura stared at him, eyes wide. "You dare?" she whispered. "Yes," Evan said. "I dare. Because the truth matters more than fear, more than lies, more than appearances." The council's high members leaned forward, frowning. "You betray your own species," one hissed. "I do not betray my species," Evan said. "I save it from the cruelty of those who use power to hide their sins. Do not let them fool you. Judge her by her heart, not her face." Laura could not believe what she was hearing. No one had ever stood for her like this. She felt a warmth in her chest she did not know existed. Respect, care, a strange human form of love and loyalty. The chamber erupted into chaos. Some of the council members shouted. Aliens argued. The human witnesses whispered among themselves. And in the middle of it all, Laura realized something that terrified her more than anything. She could survive. She could stand. And she could be seen for what she truly was. When the trial ended, they were escorted back to the palace. Guards moved them quickly, worried that the crowd outside might turn violent. Laura did not speak. She simply held Evan's arm, gripping it tightly. "I do not know how to thank you," she said finally. "You do not need to," he replied. "I will not stop. Not now. Not ever." That night, in their private room, Laura finally spoke freely. "I thought my life was only pain, that no one could ever see me as I am. But you see me." Evan sat beside her. "I do, and I will not let them or anyone else erase that." Tears slid down her cheeks. She had spent years hiding, pretending, fearing, and yet, for the first time, she felt safe. Outside, in the dark city, the palace towers remained cold and silent. But inside, two beings, one human, one alien, had begun a bond that could change everything. The council might have set the trap, but Evan and Laura were learning a different kind of strength, one that came from trust, understanding, and the courage to see the heart behind fear. The night passed quietly, but both of them knew the next challenge would be far greater. The council was not finished. Their enemies were many, and the galaxy still demanded a proof that Laura was a monster. Evan held her hand and whispered, "They will see the truth, I promise you." Laura looked into his eyes, and for the first time she believed that perhaps someone in the galaxy could care for her, not as a weapon, not as a punishment, but as the person she truly was. And somewhere deep inside, Evan knew the journey had only begun. The past had left wounds, the council had left traps, but together they would face the darkness, and maybe, just maybe, they could bring light to a galaxy that had forgotten what courage and heart truly meant. The days after the trial felt heavier than before. The palace seemed quieter, but not in a peaceful way. It was the silence of waiting, like the moment before a storm breaks. Guards appeared more often in the halls, servants whispered and avoided eye contact. Eyes were watching from everywhere. Laura felt it in her bones. The council had been embarrassed in public. That meant punishment would follow. Evan noticed it too. He stayed close to her, never leaving her alone. Wherever she went, he followed. Not because he was ordered to, but because he chose to. One morning, a message arrived from the council. It was short and cold. Laura was summoned again. This time it was not called a trial. It was called a review. "They will not forgive this," Laura said quietly after reading the message. Her hands shook as she passed it to Evan. "They never forgive those who speak against them. They can try whatever they want," Evan said. "I am not backing down." She looked at him, Fear cleared her eyes. You should. They can still destroy your people. Evan met her gaze. If I stay silent, they will destroy you. I will not trade your life for my safety. Those words stayed with her. They burned into her heart, painful and warm at the same time. When they arrived at the council chamber, the atmosphere was different. There was no crowd this time, no observers. Only the council members seated high above, their forms hidden in shadow. This was not justice. This was judgment. Laura stood alone in the center of the chamber. Evan was forced to stand several steps behind her. Guards lined the walls, weapons ready. One of the council members spoke. "Your mate has caused disorder," the voice said. "He has spread doubt. You are responsible." Laura lowered her head. "I never asked him to speak for me." "That does not matter," another voice replied. "Your existence brings chaos." Evan stepped forward. "What?" She did nothing wrong. A sharp sound echoed through the chamber. A warning. "Silence, human," the council hissed. "You are here by our mercy." Evan did not move back. The council continued. "Your bond was meant to show submission. Instead, you turned it into defiance." Laura's chest tightened. This was her fault. She knew it. Evan was suffering because of her, just like everyone else who had ever been near her. "I accept punishment," she said suddenly. Evan's head snapped up. "No," the council paused. "Speak," one voice said, curious. "I accept whatever judgment you choose," Laura said, her voice shaking but steady. "Release the human. He has fulfilled the bond. Let him go." Evan stepped forward again. "Do not do this." She turned slightly, enough to see him from the corner of her eye. "They will kill you," she whispered. "They will not," he said. "My brother had sighed, and if they try, I will still stand with you." The council watched this exchange in silence. Then one voice spoke, slow and cruel. "Very well, if you wish to accept punishment, it will be public." Laura's breath caught. "You will undergo a trial of worth," the council continued. "One that your kind believes proves the truth of the soul." Evan's heart sank. He had heard of these trials. They were ancient, dangerous, and often fatal. "You will face the proving ground," the voice said. "If you survive, your status will be reconsidered. If you fail, your story ends." "And the human?" Laura asked. "He will watch," the council replied. Helpless, Evan clenched his fists. "You will not touch her." "You have no authority here," the council answered. Laura turned fully toward Evan now. Her eyes were filled with fear, but also something new. Resolve. "I cannot keep hiding behind you," she said softly. "They have taken everything from me. I will not let them take my choice." Evan wanted to argue, to fight, to scream, but he saw it in her face. For the first time, she was not bowing. She was standing. "I will be there," he said quietly. "No matter what." The proving ground was ancient, carved deep beneath the council world. It was a place of stone and shadow, built long before the current rulers. The air was thick and cold. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the walls. Laura was led inside alone. The gate closed behind her with a heavy sound. Evan stood outside, restrained by guards. Every instinct in him screamed to break free. But he knew force would only make things worse. Inside, Laura walked slowly. The ground beneath her feet shifted. Shapes moved in the darkness. The proving ground tested fear, memory, and truth. It forced those inside to face what they believed about themselves. The first vision came quickly. She saw herself as a child, standing before elders who looked at her with disappointment. She heard their words again. Mistake, curse. Shame. Her knees weakened. Then another vision followed. The colony disaster. Fire. Screams. She saw herself trying to help, only to be blamed, pushed aside, silenced. She cried out, covering her ears. Outside, Evan could hear her voice echo faintly through the stone. He strained against the guards, panic rising. Inside the proving ground, a voice spoke to Laura. Not the council. Something older. "You believe their words," the voice said. "You believe you are nothing." Laura fell to the ground. "I am nothing," she whispered. "That is why they hate me." The voice responded calmly. "They hate what they fear, and they fear what they cannot control." Laura remembered Evan's words. Judge her by her heart, not her face. She forced herself to stand. "I am not their lie," she said aloud. Her voice shook, but it did not break. "I tried to save lives. I chose mercy. I chose to stay when others fled." The shadows shifted. The ground steadied. Another vision appeared. Evan, standing alone before the council, defying them without hesitation. Warmth spread through her chest. "I am not alone," she said, "and I am not weak." The proving ground trembled. The symbols on the walls glowed brighter. Outside, the guards stepped back as the stone gate began to shake. The council members leaned forward, alarmed. Inside, the final test appeared. A mirror-like surface rose before Laura. It reflected her face, broken and uneven. For years, this image had crushed her. She stepped closer. "I am not beautiful by your standards," she said, "but I have a heart. I have compassion. I have strength." The reflection changed. It did not become perfect. It became honest. The gate opened. Laura emerged, breathing hard but standing tall. The chamber fell silent. Evan broke free of the guards before they could stop him and ran to her side. He did not care about the rules anymore. "You did it," he said, his voice thick with emotion. She looked at him, stunned. "I survived." The council was furious. This was not the outcome they wanted. "The trial is not complete," one voice snapped. "This proves nothing. It proves everything," Evan said loudly. "You wanted her to fail. She did not." Murmurs spread among the guards and attendants. Some looked uncertain. Some looked impressed. The council withdrew without another word. That night, back in the palace, Laura sat quietly, staring at her hands. "I was so afraid," she said. "But inside that place, I realized something." Evan waited. "I was afraid because I believed them," she continued. "Not anymore," he smiled softly. "That is real strength." She looked at him, truly looked at him. "You changed everything." "No," he said, "you did." Far above them, unseen ships moved in silence. The council was already planning its next move. They would not allow this story to spread unchecked. But something had shifted. A human had defied them. An outcast had stood tall, and the galaxy was about to learn that fear was no longer enough to control the truth. The morning after, the proving ground felt unreal. Laura woke before the lights rose and sat quietly near the window, watching the dark city below. For the first time in her life, the fear was not crushing her chest. It was still there, but it no longer controlled her. Evan watched her from across the room. He could see the change in her posture. She sat straighter. Her hands no longer shook. "You should rest," he said softly. She shook her head. "I am not tired. I feel awake." He smiled faintly. "That is what standing up feels like." Their calm did not last long. An alarm echoed through the palace. not loud, but sharp and urgent. Moments later, the door opened and armed guards entered. Their faces were tense. "You are to remain here," one of them said, "by order of the council." Evan stepped forward. "What is happening? You are not authorized to know," the guard replied. Laura felt the old fear try to rise again, but she pushed it down. "They are afraid," she said quietly. "That is why they lock us in." She was right. Across the council world, rumors were spreading. Word of her survival in the proving ground had moved faster than the council expected. Guards whispered. Servants shared looks. Some spoke openly, questioning the council's judgment for the first time in generations. The council met in secret. "She should have broken," one voice hissed. "The trial was designed to crush her." And "the human," another voice added. "He is dangerous." Humans are watching now. That was the true fear. Evan had sent a message days earlier during the trial, using an old emergency channel hidden in the palace systems. It was brief, coded, and risky, but it reached them. Far from the council world, scattered human fleets received the signal. Survivors of the war, broken ships, refugees hiding among the stars. The message was simple. Alive. Bond forced. Lies exposed. Do not attack. Come witness. For a long time, nothing happened. Then the scanners lit up. A servant rushed into the palace chamber where Evan and Laura were being held. "Human ships," the servant whispered urgently. "They are arriving. Not weapons first. Aid ships. Witness vessels." Laura's breath caught. They came. Evan closed his eyes for a moment, relief and fear mixing together. "Yes," he said. "And now the council cannot pretend any more." Outside the palace, the sky changed. Lights appeared where there had been darkness. Human ships, battered but proud, emerged from faster travel. They formed no attack formation. They held position. Their hulls showed scars from past battles. The message was clear. We are not here to fight. We are here to be seen. The council reacted with fury. "This is a violation," one voice roared. "Prepare the planetary weapon." Another voice hesitated. "If we fire now, the galaxy will watch." "Let them watch," the first replied. "Fear will restore order." Deep beneath the council world, an ancient device began to power up. It was not meant for war, but for control, a weapon that could cripple planets, erase cities, and send a message across the stars. Laura felt something then, a deep vibration beneath her feet. "What is that?" she asked. Evan's face hardened. "That is not for us," he said. "That is for Earth." Her eyes widened. "They will punish your people." "Yes," he said. "Because they cannot punish me anymore." She grabbed his arm. "Then we must stop them." He looked at her, surprised. "You cannot face them again." "I can," she said firmly. "This time, I am not alone. And I will not let them destroy another world because of me." Before Evan could respond, the door opened again. But this time, it was not guards. It was Erin, the scholar who had quietly helped Evan before. His face was pale. "The council has lost control of parts of the city," Erin said quickly. "Some guards refuse orders. Others follow blindly. If the weapon fires, everything changes." "Where is it?" Evan asked. Erin hesitated. "Only the council core can access it." Laura straightened. "Then that is where we go." Evan shook his head. "They will kill you." "They already tried," she said. They failed. With Erin's help, they moved through hidden corridors beneath the palace. Alarms echoed above them. The city trembled as power systems surged. As they reached the core chamber, Evan saw the truth clearly. This was no longer about a marriage or a trial. This was about what kind of galaxy would exist after today. The chamber doors opened. The council members were already there, their forms outlined by the glow of the weapon controls behind them. "You dare return?" one voice said coldly. Laura stepped forward before Evan could stop her. "I do not come as your outcast," she said. "I come as someone you tried to erase." "You are nothing," the council replied. She did not flinch. "I am proof that your rule is built on lies." Evan stood beside her. "Stand down," he said. "Human ships are watching. Other species are listening. Fire that weapon, and your rule ends today." The council hesitated. Then one member moved toward the control. Laura reacted without thinking. She rushed forward, placing herself between the council and the weapon. "Stop," she said. Energy surged. A blast struck her square in the chest. Evan screamed her name. She fell hard to the ground. The chamber froze. Evan ran to her side, ignoring the guards, ignoring the council. He knelt, holding her broken form. Her breathing was shallow. Her eyes struggled to focus. "You should have stayed back," he whispered, tears burning his eyes. She tried to smile. "If they destroy your world, then everything you taught me means nothing." The human ships outside detected the surge. Weapons powered up in response, not firing, waiting. Inside the chamber, something unexpected happened. Several guards lowered their weapons. One of the council members stepped back. "Enough," that voice said. "This has gone too far." The weapon powered down. Silence filled the chamber. Medical teams rushed in, summoned by those who finally understood the cost of obedience. Laura was carried away, her condition critical. Evan did not leave her side. Hours passed in a sterile medical wing. Evan sat beside her, holding her hand, refusing food, refusing rest. "If she dies," he said quietly to Erin, "then nothing you promise will matter." Erin nodded. "She changed more than you know," he said. "Already." At last, Laura's eyes opened. Evan leaned forward instantly. "You are still here," he said, his voice breaking. She breathed weakly. "So are you." He laughed softly, through tears. "Always." Outside, the council announced an emergency cease of authority. Investigations began. Human representatives were invited not as prisoners but as witnesses. The galaxy had seen enough. Laura survived the night, and with her survival, the old fear that ruled the stars began to crack. The final test was coming. Not of strength, not of weapons, but of whether the galaxy could choose compassion over control. And Evan knew one thing with absolute certainty: if anyone could prove that choice was possible, it was the one they had once called Hideous. The morning light filtered through the cold metal walls of the palace, softening their harsh edges. For the first time, the city outside looked less like a prison and more like a place where life could exist. Laura lay in the medical chamber, recovering slowly. Her breathing was steady now, and the bruises and burns that covered her uneven body were beginning to heal. Evan refused to leave her side. Every glance at her reminded him of what they had survived together, and what they still had to face. The council was not finished. A single member had escaped after the weapon was deactivated. He moved through the shadows of the city, whispering, plotting, seeking revenge. His goal was simple: finish what the council had started and make Laura a true victim. Evan and Laura understood this threat. She could walk now, leaning on Evan at first, then slowly gaining strength. The two of them moved carefully through the palace corridors, preparing to confront the final enemy. They were no longer alone. The humans who had witnessed the previous events had arrived. They sent aid, yes, but also witnesses to ensure that the council could not act in secret again. Iron met them at the entrance of the council's inner sanctum. "He is inside," Iron whispered, "and he is dangerous. He has access to the council's private systems. If you face him directly, be ready for anything." Laura nodded. "I will not hide any more. Not now." Evan placed a hand on her shoulder. "I am with you, always." They entered the chamber. The escaped council member stood in the center, his posture tense, a weapon ready. His eyes were narrow and filled with hate. "You survived," he hissed. "No one should have lived to see this day." "We survived because we do not live by your rules," Evan said. "We survive because we choose courage over fear." The man laughed harshly. "Courage? Do you think your human tricks will matter? You cannot stop the weapon I set to fire if needed. You cannot prevent the collapse of this city or the council's plans." Laura stepped forward, her uneven face set with determination. "You underestimate us," she said. "Not strength alone decides the future. Heart does." The council member advanced, activating his device. Energy began to hum in the chamber, crackling and pulsing. The air vibrated with danger. Evan moved to block him, but Laura held him back. "Let me," she said. "This is my fight too." She stepped closer to the device, her body trembling but her mind steady. She understood that she could not destroy it with force, but she could outsmart it. Her hands moved quickly over the controls, following patterns she had learned in the proving ground and from Irin's guidance. Energy surged around her, heat and light filling the chamber. The council member shouted, but Laura ignored him. Every step she took, every wire she touched was careful, precise. She was not perfect, but she was determined. The energy began to decrease. The dangerous hum faded. Sparks flew, but slowly. The device powered down. Evan ran forward, grabbing her arm. "You did it," he said, breathless. "You stopped it." She looked up at him, sweat and soot covering her face. "We did it," she said. "Together." The council member fell to his knees, furious. "You cannot escape justice," he hissed. "I do not need to," Laura said calmly. "Because justice is not yours to give. It belongs to those who act with heart." Outside, the human ships hovered. Their signals broadcasted the events across the galaxy. Witnesses from other species watched the council's power crumble. The old fear that had ruled this world began to fade. People whispered, shared stories, and slowly, hope began to rise where there had been only oppression. Evan and Laura returned to the medical chamber, tired but alive. She leaned on him, her uneven face streaked with soot, but her eyes bright. "I never imagined life could feel like this," she said. "Not fear, not shame, but freedom." Evan smiled. "This is only the beginning. We have survived wars, trials, and hate. Now we build something new." Laura looked at him, her lips curving into a faint, genuine smile. "Do you think they will ever accept me?" Evan shook his head. "They may never fully accept you. But it does not matter. You have me, and you have your truth. That is stronger than fear, stronger than lies." Days passed, and peace began to settle over the city. The council was broken, powerless to enforce their cruel orders. Laura's actions, guided by Evan's support and courage, inspired others. Servants no longer hid from her. Citizens dared to speak the truth. Even some of the council's former followers began to question their past deeds. Evan and Laura walked through the streets together, their bond visible to all. People stopped to watch, some whispering, some nodding in respect. They were a symbol of change, a human and an alien who had faced lies, fear, and death, and had chosen to survive with compassion and courage. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the city, Laura turned to Evan. "I am no longer the creature they said I was," she said softly. "I am me." "And you are extraordinary," Evan replied. "Not because of what you look like, but because of who you are inside." She smiled, genuinely this time. "I never thought anyone could see me for me. I always did," he said. They stood together, looking at the moons, the stars beyond, and the city that was slowly awakening from fear. The past had tried to define them, the council had tried to break them, and the galaxy had tried to ignore them. But neither Laura nor Evan allowed the world to decide their story. Somewhere far away, the last council member plotted, but his power was gone. He had underestimated what heart could do. Laura squeezed Evan's hand. "What happens now?" "Now," Evan said, "we live. We help others see that courage is not just fighting. It is standing for what is right, even when the world says you cannot. We will rebuild, heal, and show that mercy is stronger than fear." The moons reflected on Laura's uneven face, but now Evan saw only her strength. Not a curse, not a monster, but a being who had survived, who had chosen heart over hatred, and who would change the galaxy forever. The city around them was still full of shadows, but with each passing day light grew stronger. The humans returned to their worlds, spreading the story of courage. Aliens whispered of Laura's bravery, and together she and Evan proved that even the smallest act of truth and compassion could topple empires. As the sun rose the next morning, Laura stood taller than ever. The galaxy had tried to hide her, punish her, erase her, but she remained alive, strong, seen. Evan held her hand and smiled. "They will remember you," he said. "I hope they will remember what matters most," she replied. "Heart, courage, truth." Side by side, they looked at the horizon, ready to face whatever the galaxy could throw at them next, knowing that together they were unstoppable. And so, the human who was forced into a marriage with a hideous alien girl had discovered the truth behind her face. And the alien girl, once feared and hated, had shown the galaxy the power of heart. The stars above shone a little brighter that day,